Dr. Douglas Hart replayed the visit to the P.O.'s farm in his head and finally expressed himself aloud. Married to a slave owner. Hannah, you killed my family. This town needs to know exactly who you are. Back in his office and at his desk, he examined the fresh fruit and vegetables. He wondered if Hannah had anything to do with the farm's success. He was sure, he supposed, she was responsible for the general better health of the P.O.'s family compared to the slaves at the other plantations. It could also be related to the housing setup at Hannah's plantation compared to the setup at the other farms. Since the passing of his family and growing up with Papa, Dr. Hart lived a protected and focused life. His Papa was loving and understanding, but expected greatness from Douglas. Doug's days, weeks, and months were planned for him. He enjoyed it and needed the structure. There was little idle time. In spite of Papa's efforts to minimize his leisure time, Doug became super efficient in everything he did and eventually made some downtime for himself. This was time he used to remember his big brother and his mother. He blamed his mother's unconditional love toward an abusive husband for her death. He blamed his older brother's death on his heroic nature. He blamed his father for selfishly screaming out for help and not accepting his due retribution, and for putting his mother and brother in harm's way. He was thankful to the young witch Hannah for hurting and killing his dad. He also blamed Hannah for not taking care with the fire. He often thought, had he not asked Hannah for help, what his life been like and whether his mother would still be alive. Seeing Hannah somehow made him angry. Maybe the blame he shared with her and the emptiness caused by the void and loss of his mother and brother could have been filled by causing Hannah pain. She loved her husband, the P.O. Perhaps if I take him, Hannah will get a glimpse into my emptiness. Dr. Hart called a meeting with the farmers. He did not extend the invitation to the P.O. or his wife. Once they were seated, he asked how each of their plantation workers were since his visit. They all agreed they were far healthier. He also asked them how their crops were. Mr. Hare interrupted. You know the answer, Doc Hart. The previous 2 years have been great. This year has been not so good. Once our slaves recover from whatever they have, we are posturing for the next season. Without much small talk, Dr. Hart addressed the men. These are some of the fresh fruits and vegetables at the P.O.'s plantation. They look beautiful and taste even better. Their plantation is well organized and their family of slaves are treated well. They are managed by a lovely family. The P.O. is madly in love with his wife, and his wife, a black witch disguised as a white woman, equally loves and manages the plantation. Dr. Hart paused for effect and awaited responses. Mr. Hare asked Dr. Hart to repeat himself and to clarify the unusual statement just made. What did you say? A witch? She's a witch? Yes, a witch. A very powerful witch, and she can change her appearance. Mr. Clark then asked a very legitimate question, then expressed his doubts. How is it that you know this, and why would you say something so clearly absurd as calling a P.O.'s wife a black woman? Why call her a slave? I first met her as a child. She showed me some of the interesting things she could do. I saw her interact with passerbyers who thought she was one of the townspeople. I can't explain why or how I saw her, but I assure you I can. Are you a male witch? How can we trust you? My magic is built upon science and study. I heal and save through medicine. You can learn my magic through many years of dedicated study. I have never been able to explain my eye. The doctor never shared the story of this family. He also never shared that when he looked himself in the mirror, that he saw two beautiful and uniquely yellow shaded eyes. Mr. Connor made an inquiry directly to Dr. Hart. Does she have the power to make her harvest survive and our crops fail? I can't be completely sure. Based on the retired doc, he did note that in times of poor harvest for most, their plantation thrive. Whether they have a fertile plot or she made it so, I cannot say. I do believe she has the ability. In fact, I'm sure she has the ability to do very powerful things. Each of you deserves the same good fortune. Mr. Clark yelped in agreement. Yeah. So, why didn't you all go through the farm takeover several years ago? The doctor asked a rhetorical question. Mr. Hare responded, I thought I dreamed it. Clark, Connor, and Eastland looked at each other and nodded their heads in agreement. Yes, so did I. The old doctor told me never to get involved in town gossip. He repeatedly said just to take care of the town. He did tell me about a night when he stood at the back of the plantation and was too far away to clearly see. What he faintly heard were the demands of the farmers, all four of you, to the P.O. to turn over his plantation. After some attempts at reasoning, the P.O. directed everyone to leave, and you all did leave. The older doctor went on to tell me and describe to me how the unusual way the crowd moved. Those at the front moved as if directed. Those in the rear followed. If Hannah does have power, perhaps it can only extend so far. What I can say confidently is that I can assure you all that she has great power. We should divide their farms as we had attempted before. Only this time, we should be smarter. How do we get Hannah to cooperate? How do we protect ourselves from her power? Can we convince her to make our newly enlarged farms as productive as hers and the P.O.'s farm? I would not underestimate her. Planning is key. I will help. Mr. Hare provided a plan. We should approach the farm from 4 sides. We should also send a farm rep from each farm armed with our collective messaging. We should, the 4 of us, lead the 4 elements from the rear should confrontation occur. This will also allow us to be outside of her believed power reach. We don't know the extent of her powers, but she surely can't be a match for 4 armed mobs. The goal should be to contain and restrain her for our future collective use. Our last resort would be to mortally harm her. We simply want to remove any obstacle to our assumption and division of this property. I can see her as she is. I will accompany the 4. I understand your message and am prepared to deliver it. Why again are you eager to help? There is some reason you are holding secret. Mr. Hare paused for a response and got no response. He continued his line of thought. Only because I don't feel this secret is detrimental to the group or to our efforts am I not pressing it. However, we would like to know. We deserve to know. Because of her, I lost my brother, my mother, and father in a house fire. How? Why were you spared? Enough! Take my help or do this without me. If you think you can coerce me, think again. My oldest living relative is dead and I can work in any town. I have no ties here. Also, as the only person who can identify her in any form, I can tip her off if I feel threatened. Clark, Connor, and Eastland all interjected on behalf of the group. All we need is your word of loyalty. We don't need to know anything further. Mr. Hare appeared to adjust his position. Okay, we want your help. So, what will you and our 4 men say? What will be the visible sign to either calmly or forcibly take the plantation? I will return to the farm with the 4 representatives just mere hours before the setting of the sun. This will offer cover for your 4 armed groups. You each decide where you will organize yourself. Once we are with the P.O., I will make him an offer to disband his plantation for distribution among the 4 farms so that each of you will know prosperity. I will ask that Hannah stay on as head mistress so she can continue to bless the harvest and keep the slaves healthy. And the signs? When I wave an open hand, the owner has agreed. If I wave a fist or make an erratic movement, then the plantation must be forcibly taken. Okay, we'll do this tomorrow. Yes. Farm owners Clark, Connor, and Eastland all agreed. Very well. We will plan our individual strategies and meet at our predetermined locations. With that, I wish you all a good night. Have your men meet me here at my office 2 hours prior to sundown so that we can jointly head over to the plantation." Everyone nodded and the farmers left. Outside of the doctor's location and his immediate earshot, Mr. Hare had a few words before he agreed on the location around the plantation. "We all take a great risk tomorrow. What burdens me is not the deed. We each arrived at the same conclusion in past, and until now, our memory of the previous attempt were clouded. What does burden me is not fully understanding the good doctor's rationale and background. As such, if I feel his help needlessly results in our or our men's death, I will not hesitate to kill him." They all mumbled in agreement. "Unless there is an objection, I offer that I take the northern position just outside of the entrance of the plantation in the direction of the town. I recommend that Clark position himself and his men at the southern position just outside the exit of the plantation in the direction of the river. Eastland takes the hill area to the east, and Connor take the wooded area to the west." They all agreed. "In the event this is not peaceful, bring pitchforks, rope, rifles, and any other blunt objects you can wield.